Isn't he Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home. That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby.
You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You're the blackest one in this room.
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border. And then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on American soil. So he became the anchor baby. You don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Good afternoon. Hello, welcome. Thank you for tuning in to my show. I'm the American Anchor Baby. What's up, everybody? Welcome. Let's get into it here, huh? Thursday show. Already done. JLP Hake Report. We're going to get going here. American Anchor Baby. Got a show for you. The 14th strikes again. Oh, no. Yet again, the very amendment that gave you the American Anchor Baby strikes again. I want to talk about a few things that spawned for me, as well as some news items I never got to. Maybe talk a little bit about yesterday as well. Not too much. It was a good show. Maybe not the best interviewer, but I think people enjoyed it. Maybe it wasn't totally clear at times, but hey, there might be a couple of things we could talk about there as well. 14 is a hate number. I almost forgot. Isn't someone saying it's a hate number? Oh, yep. ADL.org. I don't know what 14 here. Oh, it means 14 words according to the ADL. I know what that is. I'm talking about the 14th Amendment though. 14 is a hate number. Great. Now there goes my advertisers for this episode. And maybe, no, I canceled those words. Okay. I canceled those words in the name of the ADL. Okay. So you will be talking about this, that, and your calls, 888-775-3773. You want to jump in, get on the line and talk. I didn't get to everybody yesterday. Sorry about that. But we had Josh on. That was cool. Got to thank Hassan. Go check out Hassan, Wow Hassan on YouTube. So let me make sure everything's rolling, rocking and rolling. Let's get the show on the, what? Roll? 14th strikes again. I'm talking about the 14th Amendment. Oh, hey, what's up, everybody over there on Rumble? Ohio Sentinel, TJ Hilliard, Hake, and those that are silent, standing on the side, leaning against the wall, but they're at least they're at the party. So welcome. Thank you. Rumble.com/American Anchor Baby. And I never plug, well, I plug it every now and then, but I have a podcast. I got to remind you, American Anchor Baby on Spotify, Substack, AmericanAnchorBaby.substack.com for sure. But I have a podcast if you like to just listen to the show after the fact. So I'm talking about Trump a little and the 14th Amendment because it's heating up. You know about the indictments. You know about the lawsuits. Now the indicted and or whatever January 6 people like Enrique Tarrio, Joseph Biggs, which came down recently, earning sentences that are. I heard that it was that the judge stopped himself from giving them a harsher sentence because it would be too close to what they sentence terrorists and other violent criminals, that it would cheapen those sentences, if you will. Nick, you were a weak at Maina? I heard that's how you pronounce your name in the chat. Maina? You said it, you commented something about deleting you. I don't know what you meant by that. I don't know if you meant clearly you're not banned, so that's good. I don't know if you got deleted or something, but it wasn't me. But you're saying, Nick, you were weak as P yesterday. You didn't even make him answer a question. He just talked around you saying Holocaust or something. I could have maybe tried to pin him down. I asked it a few times, but it was a lot of, at least on the, ADL being Jewish and the Holocaust stuff being, there were some moments there where he answered honestly, seeing the imminent danger of the Jews. I thought, for me, personally speaking, maybe you didn't get what you wanted. Maina, there may have been times I could have been clearer, pinned down on a question, but I was kind of lost sometimes myself. So my bad. But also, I kind of also got what I was kind of looking for a little bit, in that it was interesting to hear our guest yesterday, Josh, speak about how he saw the imminent danger of Jews, etc., and it kind of fit my, I wouldn't call it my theory, but my sort of estimation of Jews who have that identity of being persecuted, imminent danger, etc., and that that being the motivation behind censorship, calling out anti-Semitism, blah blah blah. I think it's emotional, a little bit connected to identity, false identity. We got into it yesterday. Definitely want to check it out. That's true, man. You definitely got me on that. Looking 12 without a beard. Man, thanks for being there, though. Everybody, too. Everybody who was there. Check it out yesterday. You could podcast it. Don't want to spend too much time here. Let's keep the show moving. What did I want to say about it? But very interesting. I never did ask Josh if do you think it's time the Jews kind of got over the Holocaust? Just like forgave the whole thing, forgave the Nazis, forgave maybe whoever they consider Nazis today even. But I kind of got my answer there a little in the imminent danger. We might get into that later, but I'm talking about a different type of hate number, 14, because the whole Trump stuff is happening, right? That's where I was, right? Ankle baby promoting Talmudic Judaism. Okay, so thank you, Nicole. Where was I? Trump. Because they're trying to put him in jail, right? And so I've had this question in my mind. What's it actually going to look like? Like, what's the strategy here? So is it defamation of character and bring out every gun you can to try and win that election? And those guns may be things that I don't quite understand, but some people call it shenanigans and things, statistical anomalies, but also defamation of character, get the media going, try and get as many people in the middle to just see Trump as a criminal, or this is just too much, try and get as many of the rhinos or Republicans who just think this is too much, I want things to be normal. Is that the strategy? Or is it to put him in jail and avoid him ever even running? I don't know. It's just what's been on. I bet you that's what everybody's been wondering. What's it going to look like? Because this guy, Trump, he's been saying that doesn't matter to him. He's going to run. He's going to, I hear things that being in prison or jail doesn't, stop someone, preclude someone from being a presidential candidate. So I'm hearing those things. I'm left wondering, so what's it going to look like? The day of, do I get to vote? Let's say he's not on the ballot. What are the people going to do? I'm going to write him in? Are they going to ignore that? Like, what's it going to look like? I bet you people are wondering. Historic, they say. Well, some are saying that there's a legal battle, a legal movement to, a rule. Let me show you the article here. Some are saying they're going to use a ruling they're going to use the 14th Amendment that could bar Donald Trump from the ballot itself. Okay? So that's the news a little bit here. Some legal experts believe the constitutional amendment disqualifies Trump from holding office again. A theory likely to be tested, right? Obviously. So they're using the 14th. A growing number of critics of Donald Trump are embracing a long shot, Yahoo calling it long shot legal strategy by arguing that the former president should be barred from holding office again, based on a Reconstruction era amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Okay. Section 3 of the Constitution's 14th Amendment states that anyone who has previously sworn an oath to support the Constitution of the United States and who has engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof can be disqualified from holding future federal or state office. So you see now what is the strategy, at least for some here, right? Barring from ever being even on the ballot. Win your nominee, win your primary, blah, blah, blah. It won't matter because you can't run for federal office. At least according to this thing here. And it bears repeating here, because just like how the 14th Amendment was abused, just how my family, fair and square, abused the 14th Amendment so that I can have a citizenship, the birthright citizenship. You're maybe somewhat aware of this, but the 14th Amendment has a clause or whatever that is, should you be born on U.S. soil, you're a U.S. citizen. The clause of naturalization in the 14th Amendment. But it was never meant or intended for me or people like me. The children of illegals, border crossers as they're called now. It was meant for slaves. At the time, the Civil War was what was going on. That was the topic du jour. That's infantilizing it. A lot of you could call it a fork in the road for America. Some might say it went the wrong way. And you could maybe, when you read this, with the wording that it's in, the Section 3 of the Constitution, engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort, and then you realize the context and what it was about. It was about the Civil War. And then this is going to be very brief and ignorant even. So please, 888-775-3773, about my but any recounting of a Civil War here is going to be like that. But the winners won, and they're like, yeah, you can't do that anymore. Losers, we're not going to let that happen again. Maybe too simple. And so that wording, think about it. Could it be that that this situation with Trump and all that was destined to happen once this was written in this wording? Anyone who has previously sworn oath and they're engaged to support the Constitution are engaged in an insurrection or rebellion against the same can be disqualified. Was America's fate set when they wrote that? I don't know, because I grew up being told the good guys won, but I don't know. Evil on both sides, egos on both sides. What really happened? So some other well-versed people in that area can maybe tell me. But I found the wording of that interesting. And so they're trying to use it just the way it was misused, in my opinion, for me. Misuse it and take it out of context of history and stop Trump from being on the ballot. And for what? Because he took an oath to support the Constitution, but now he's engaged against it. Very interesting. I mean, some might not see it that way. He's not in opposition to the Constitution, but the people in government who they themselves are against it. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. Okay. So, yeah. Trump, they're trying to keep him out. 14th Amendment, misusing it. It's crazy, too, because he's the guy. He's the front runner. They're trying to make you think like there's a real battle for the primary nomination here for the Republican nominee here, right? They got all those people. They were debating without Trump. Elephant not in the room, they say. So they if you watch Fox and all that, it's all like it's a neck to neck battle. It's going to be a photo finish. We're going to need all eyes on this. We all know it's not. Trump's he's the one who's going to take it all. According to this Revolver article, he's set to win what's called a winner takes all rule. Hold up. I'm learning. I'm getting educated. I'm doing some book learning on elections. There's a whole process going on apparently right now. Anybody aware of this? There's a whole election going on right now. And there's stuff happening. And there's something called Super Tuesday and winner takes all rules. Wait a second. Is this an election? Is this a monster truck? What's going on? Is this theater? They're calling it winner takes all. And so, what does it mean? What does winner take all mean? Simply put, according to Revolver, it is the most straightforward method for allocating delegates. Win the most votes in a state over a certain threshold, usually 50%, and you get all of the state's delegates. The great news for Trump is that most Republican primaries operate under this winner takes all rule, where the candidate with the most votes takes all the delegates. Maybe delegates, but definitely delegates. Iowa and New Hampshire are exceptions where delegates are awarded in proportion to the raw vote count. Blah, blah, blah. The point is, Trump is set to trigger winner-takes-all rules in literally every single state with a threshold on Super Tuesday, big Super Tuesday, including California and Texas. Hold up. So, is that something that involves us? Maybe not. Maybe because it's saying, including California and Texas, is that taking place here? So, I'm not paying attention. Anybody in the chat voting for primaries? Is that something we're supposed to be doing? California primaries. I just got this too. How to vote. There was a whole thing here. Primary elections in California. How are primary elections conducted? All candidates for voter-nominated offices are listed on one ballot. Primary presidential elections. Only voters indicating a preference for a party may vote. Is anybody? There's an election going on, apparently, is what I'm trying to express here. And I'm here just yelling about the bread and circus, says Matt, living the dream. It's all theater. Are we just jaded? There's an electoral process right now, guys. Come on. Anybody care or paying attention? Or are we waiting for the big one? So Lin Yan Chin, thank you. Super chatting says, I think starting some fights. Lin Yan Chin in my super chats here. CJ is just modified so she and her 130 IQ, which drops to 110 when in her moments of severe outrage, don't have the ability to orient as his sapience gets eaten by intellect or so-called ego. Who are you talking about? Lin Yan Chin? Well, anyways, I gotta shout out the super chats here. Be fit to be fit. You and Hake have almost no viewers. You guys need to stop having gay callers, stuttering art, and J-word guests. So that's who Be Fit to Be Fit is. Well, thank you for the super chat, man. I don't know about you, man. They're coming in. The viewers are coming in. Don't worry. Don't worry. You're watching. Okay, so Super Tuesday. There's a whole election going on, apparently. It's happening. But where was I? Every state is different. I won't vote. Okay. All right. Hey, I don't know, because I sure don't know. Maybe that makes me a bad citizen. I don't know if people really in the chat are feeling the same way, though. Doesn't sound like much care. Anyways, we'll see how that comes out, right? What that's going to look like. Just walk up to the booth, I guess, and just fingers crossed Trump is on it. Is that all we can do? Okay. But speaking of the 14th Amendment and abuses of the law, something amazing is happening with the illegals, the border situation, New York, etc. An interesting development. The stress has gotten to Adams. We're getting headlines that Eric Adams has been criticizing the influx of migrants, they call them, border crossers, illegal aliens into New York City. And he's been talking about it, saying it's not fair that these Republican states are dropping them off here. It's not fair. We're not getting any help. Where's Biden? Now he's saying something more, and it's going viral. It's definitely interesting, though. It's definitely interesting. I have to say, y'all, avoid any temptation to say, to be unforgiving, okay? Avoid the temptation to say, I told you so, wish suffering on someone so they may feel the consequences of not realizing things sooner the way you did. Maybe not realizing the house is on fire as soon as you did. So, again, steel yourself. Don't avoid the temptation to hate, because we got Eric Adams here. He's talking about New York City. He's saying the migrant crisis will destroy the Big Apple, he says. Warns that 10,000 illegal asylum seekers arriving every month will flood each of the 5 boroughs, the city we knew we're about to lose. Amazing it's not already lost, but he's saying the city we knew we're about to lose. Don't judge, y'all. Some people are maybe now seeing that this is pretty serious. You can't just bring in a bunch of people like this and expect, and you know, you're turning hotels, you're turning city streets into migrant camps, refugee camps. You know, there's going to be a limit. There's got to be a limit, but there is no limit because the borders are open, and thanks to the law, once you get here, you can claim base, home base, can't touch me. Base, you gotta let me stay. Okay, so Eric Adams, I want to show you some footage here. See what we got. We got Daily Mail. Let's see what we got here. Looks like too long of a clip here. But you know what? We'll play it. Beautiful. Thank you, Daily Mail. Let's do it. Okay, Daily Mail, come on. Technical difficulties. Beautiful. Okay, got it.
And then what happened? Started with a madman down in Texas decided he wanted to bus people up to New York City. 110,000 migrants. Educate the children.
What a mess. Okay, Eric Adams, tell us what's going on.
110,000 migrants. We have to feed, clothe, house, educate the children, wash their laundry sheets, give them everything they need, health care. And this team here, we stated, let's do everything possible before we have to push it out into neighborhoods and communities. Month after month, I stood up and I said, this is going to come to a neighborhood near you.
Wow.
Well, we're here.
Doesn't that sound familiar? This is coming to a neighborhood near you. It sounds familiar. It reminds me of protesting MAGA right-winger racists saying it's coming to a neighborhood. You don't care because it's not on your doorstep. Jeez. And I see you guys in the chat saying, whose fault? I see Mike Cernovich saying, good, just for New York City to get what it supported. I don't disagree. They call themselves a sanctuary city. I mean, I don't think people realize what they're really saying. When people say, we're a sanctuary city, you know, maybe on the mayors and the politicians, it's a little tougher. It goes harder on them because I think they somewhat know. But, you know, your neighbors who vote for this, we're a sanctuary city. They don't realize what they're saying. They're just saying, they just think, well, that's love. And saying we're not a sanctuary city is hate. And they have this false kind of thinking. But that's what they're saying. Sanctuary city. This is what you guys were saying. This is a sanctuary city. Welcome.
We're here. We're getting no support on this national crisis, and we're receiving no support. And let me tell you something, New Yorkers. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City.
It'll destroy a lot more than that.
Destroy New York City. We're getting 10,000 migrants a month. One time we were just getting Venezuela. Now we're getting Ecuador. Now we're getting Russian-speaking coming through Mexico. Now we're getting Western Africa. Now we're getting people from all over the globe have made their minds up that they're going to come through the southern part of the border and come into New York City. And everyone is saying it's New York City's problem. Every community in this city is going to be impacted. We got a $12 billion deficit that we're going to have to cut. Every service in this city is going to be impacted. All of us. And so I say to you as I turn it over to you.
Good.
This is some of the most educated, some of the
more illegals. Let them in. Pour into New York. Let's go.
Most knowledgeable, probably more of my commissioners and deputy commissioners and chiefs live in this community. So as you ask me a question about migrants, tell me what.
That's what these supervillains that run these cities. That's what they do. They're like more homeless. We're a sanctuary city. More. Yes, we'd love more.
Role you played. How many of you organized to stop what they're doing to us? How many of you were part of the movement to say, we're seeing what this mayor is trying to do, and they're destroying New York City?
Yeah, what's up? Why not put the migrants to do, you mean illegals, esoteric, to do those services? Yeah, it's crazy. 10,000 of these people in the boroughs, what do you say, every month, every year? You know, you got to feed them, clothe them, house it. Like, your American citizens don't get that treatment. You got to understand that. American citizens don't get that red carpet treatment. They don't. And these are people that could definitely work. Okay. Can we get a forced labor clause here in the 14th Amendment or whatever friggin' law is letting all these people in? Some federal statute that about asylum seekers, you know, if they are in the borders of America, they can claim asylum just by being here. Can we get a stipulation about forced labor too while you're here? Put them to work. But that would be slavery, no? Jeez. So they said it was racist. Trump was racist. MAGA's racist. They're not sending their best, right? That was racist, all that. But they really aren't. These are countries, you got to understand, these are countries that are out of control themselves. They have their own issues. And Mexico is definitely one of them. Not only the cartels, the drugs and all that, but the women. It's a woman society. Way worse than America. Okay? Because at least we have, you know, white men, Christians, kind of, up in arms. It might be egos, blah, blah, blah. But I think we can think all that what's it called? Roe v. Wade, all that. Overturning. It's not all the way gone on abortion. Well, Mexico is. Mexico's Supreme Court decriminalized abortion nationwide. And we're getting a bunch of these videos and scenes of Mexican women out in the streets just screaming their heads off. We remember Argentina. There's this wave of particularly militaristic communist feminism in South America. There's nothing like that South American feminism. It's very powerful. And so these women out here screaming that they got abortion. This is a woman-centered society. It's pretty bad already here. You're importing that as well, okay? Mexico's Supreme Court decriminalizes abortion nationwide. Okay, they got their own issues. I see your calls coming in. Much appreciated. I'll get to you in a moment here, but hold on. And they are moving closer to electing their first female president, huh? Politico, thanks. Who's this? First female, first Mexico City. They're calling it first female president. This is a Mexico City Mayor Claudia Sheinbaum. It's a Mexican-sounding last name. What kind of last name is that? Sheinbaum. Sheinbaum. What? Is she one of those, I don't know, güeros? Ruling party's presidential candidate. So they're gonna elect a female. There's your Mexico. There's your tough Mexican. I don't know. I was talking to someone about masculinity in the Mexicans, and I think it's kind of gone. I don't know about y'all, but I think it's kind of gone. Who do I got on the line right now? Sorry, I don't have my stack open right now. My apologies. I have Deontay. What's up, Deontay? Florida, you're on the air, man. Thanks.
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
All is well. Having a chill Thursday here. Running down the news a bit, taking calls.
All is well as well. This is a quick thing, and I know it's off topic of what you're speaking of.
No problem.
But I just wanted to bring this up. I've been meaning to bring it up with you for a while, but I just wanted to bring it up right quick. It's a book. You mind me saying the name of the book?
No, I don't mind.
It's called, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm black. It's like 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒎, right? And once upon a time, I read this book about a couple of years ago.
Aluda? Right? That sounds not like English.
I think he changed his... the premise of the story, right? The guy was born in Africa.
Oh, it's a name. 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒎.
Yes. He was born in Africa. He was captured by African slave hunters, right? He was sold into African slavery, right? This is like all happening during the slave times. He gets brought to he ends up getting sold around in Africa as a slave, and then he ends up getting brought to the coast where he's sold into slavery to the Dutch, and the Dutch move him over to the Caribbean, and then he's in the Caribbean as a slave, and then he ends up at some point buying his own freedom. And then this is a black guy, he ends up buying slaves as a plantation, and then he ends up, I think he sells it. I can't remember what happened with the plantation, but then he ends up going and moves to like England and then becomes an abolitionist and about destroying slavery. But I thought it's interesting because the first-hand narrative about an African that was born in Africa, bought and sold in slavery, he actually talks about his different slave owners as he's like going through his life. And there's times where he likes his slave owners. There's times where he doesn't like his slave owners. Sometimes where he has harsh slave owners that beat him. And then sometimes he has other slave owners that pay him. And he's like, this is his favorites. And he really loves them. He actually says it in the book. He's like, I love him. I love them.
Wow.
You know, they're great people. I believe he converted to Christianity in the book. But what do you think about that?
That is so fascinating on many levels here. Let me just go off the top of the head. I always heard about this phenomena, if you can call it that, of buying your freedom as a slave. And I'd heard this throughout my life, different stories of different people, different races too, that buy their freedom, and that whole concept itself makes you if you don't think about it, I guess you wouldn't think about it, but if you really thought about it for a moment, it kind of challenges many preconceived notions of slavery in general. I mean, growing up in my mind, you think slavery, they were enslaved. They thought of them as less than human. They were property. But how can property buy its own freedom? You know what I mean? So the fact that that's even possible, I think our whole understanding of that era is just wrong. And further demonstrated with what you're saying, Equiano went through, saying he had different slave owners. Some he liked, some he didn't.
Yeah.
And they were good slave owners. The same way you have a good or bad parent, a good or bad boss. You might now today say, well, I wouldn't be in a relationship like that, right? The relationships that make sense to me is parent-child, boss-employee, but slave and master, that's a relationship that's foreign. I would never, that's evil, immoral, but I don't know if that's quite such that way.
Yeah. It's very interesting that the lies and the propaganda that they tell us, and they tell us basically, oh, well, this is what you are if you're black, and this is what you are if you're white. And in the reality, there was only a few people in this time period that actually had slaves. And then there was only a few people, there was a lot of slaves. And then there's one thing I also learned very recently was that in the North, when they did that law that said that the blacks were only 3/5 of people, that came from the Yankees, right? So that was the Northerners. So when they were going and discussing how they were going to do the voting, they said the South was like, well, we have a lot of people right here. We have a lot of black people, like a lot of slaves. And the North said, well, they don't count. They're going to be 3/5. So they were bargaining. And so when they put up that 3/5 on people, right, that was a Northerner thing on the Southerners, so they would have less voting power. The South would have less voting power.
It was a political fight.
Right.
It was for voting and politics. Yeah, and I've heard that brought up before too, to try and, I guess, as a way of discerning the hearts of the men at the time, how they viewed black people as less than people and all that. But I've always heard the opposite. I've heard the opposite as well. That was a way, they had no voting, they had no say or vote at all. But here was a way of counting them in a battle that may not have involved them.
Before the Civil War, I've heard this, people say, oh, only white men with land could vote. It was only land I think it was males with land. So before the Civil Rights, it was rare, but blacks did have voting rights before the Civil War if you owned land. You could buy land, you could buy slaves, you could buy your freedom. They just tell these lies and lies and lies. And some of it has
how could there have been black
lies.
slave owners? Like, I hear that from the conservative side sometimes, but and it might get ignored because it's like, oh, whatever, there was a black slave owner. It's so ridiculous. You're trying to do a gotcha. But really think about it. Like, it just it goes against any preconceived notion that it was uniquely white. It was clearly there was upward mobility apparently there was you see what I'm saying? The upward mobility in this enterprise known as slavery.
Yeah.
You start small. You start as a slave, and then maybe one day, if you put in the right work and the right attitude, you'll be an owner.
It's so interesting on how much they lie to us.
Totally. And
not
control.
we as in we, but we as in the American people. It's so amazing how everybody's they're just willing to accept the lie.
Yeah.
Because it's easy. It's wild. But I can't hold up your time.
Super fascinating, man. I wanted to, no, that's everything. Do you happen to know real quick on the whole buying your own freedom thing? Do you happen to know any more info on that and what that was like or anything like that?
Well, I know that Equiano in the book says that he said that he had a slave owner. He was a merchant at some point where he did like merchandise. He sold and bought merchandise for his slave owner, and the slave owner would pay him. And also, there's another thing that I think happened in the book. He sued one of his slave owners for money.
Oh, no way. Well, there you go. The blind lady justice.
Yeah, so he ended up he said that he was getting paid from the slave owner or whatever, and then he was getting a little cut from the money, and he just saved his money. He did exactly what Jesse said. He said he saved his money up, and then one day he came to the person and he gave him the money, and then he got his slip that said he was a free man, or he bought his own freedom, and he just had to keep that on him all the time so people knew he wasn't a slave.
Right. Let's go.
I mean, but if you ever get free time, man, to read it, man, it's interesting. But I got to go, man.
Sounds fascinating, man. For sure, Deontay. Call me again, man. Thank you.
All right, buddy. It's always a pleasure. Have a good one.
Yeah. Moving the wheels. So good. Interesting stuff there, don't you think? 𝒔𝒐𝒄𝒊𝒂𝒍�g. Let's see if I could pull up a little thing here. I believe we have, I guess, portraits of the man. Oluda. This is how you spell it, though. OLAUDAH. 𝒔𝒐𝒄𝒊𝒂𝒍�g. Equiano, EQUIN. Is this some horses maybe connected to equine-like things? Anyways, this is a portrait of Oluda, I believe. Fascinating stuff there, Deontay. Buying freedom. Like, what a concept. What a concept. I mean, I don't mean to be so ignorant on something, but I am. But yet I find it interesting. What is this? I just happen to find this right now. Let's watch this together. Men who purchase their freedom. It's short, just a couple minutes, 2 minutes, less than that. Maybe we'll learn something about something I'm just suddenly interested in. Enslaved men purchased their own freedom and their families.
Yes, another person. You know, what?
Free Frank.
Free Frank. Yeah.
Free Frank McWater.
Yeah, and Fred. Like, I mean, so I mean, that just makes me think. You know, like, yo, we have all these people that have been doing that. Like, how much do we not know about?
I'm sorry, y'all. We took a chance. We took a chance to see if we could get educated on slaves buying their own freedom here. We'll have to do this some other time. Well, we took a chance there, didn't we? All right, y'all. So let me make sure I caught everybody here. I don't want to miss anything here. And we'll do this next. How about this? Mexico abortion, Eric Adams. You know what? Couple comments here on yesterday's interview, the ADL and all that. Didn't quite get to a bunch of stuff here. Didn't really quite get to the full report here on the ADL. Not really report. You guys know what's going on there. But didn't really quite get to it. Also didn't get to some things with Josh. But I do appreciate having him on. Josh was a guest that I had on yesterday, who was very well educated, spent 8 years, in fact, studying Jewish texts and scripture, including the Talmud and all that. And it was interesting to talk to him, right? We brought up so many things. The Holocaust came up. Trauma, spirit is kind of the name I'm giving the whole mentality of any group, really, but of Jews not wanting a Holocaust to happen again, to avoid that happening again. You got to stop hate speech, stamp it down, okay? Maybe you don't have to use that word. Maybe it's too militant of a word, stamp it down. We don't have to get accusatory here. But wanting to stop hate speech and educate people to avoid a future Holocaust, a future hurting and anti-Semitic attacks against Jews. I'm kind of giving it a name, trauma spirit, okay? I might not be the first one to call it that, just kind of what came to me. That kind of mentality that might explain the motivation behind the ADL and that kind of thing, right? We talked to Josh yesterday, super interesting. He described how there's extremes in a lot of topics and a lot of groups, including the Jews. And he said that there's extremists and that you actually need the extreme anti-speech people. He didn't quite say anti-speech, but extreme conversation, I guess. You need the extreme side of a conversation so that you may find your place, he said. Find your place in the middle. Find where you lie. That you need the extremes of society so that the rest of us, the normal people, can find our place. And so you need, I guess you could say, the extremes of the ADL. And he agreed, pretty much said the same thing. Now, where was I going with this? Trauma spirit. We had an interesting talk. I guess I don't need to rehash it off the top of my head. You could check it out yesterday. There was a couple moments I found interesting. The Talmud, for example. I know a lot of you guys in the chat, you guys tell me things that the Talmud says and all that. Doesn't sound good. I'll tell you that right now. Doesn't sound good. I'm glad Hassan asked Josh about one known as, I believe it's pronounced, Soat Rodahat. Soa Rotashat. Or translated to boiling excrement. Ugh. And it has its own Wikipedia, in fact. In fact, it has its own Wikipedia entry, okay? Because people say that something about Jesus boiling in excrement and all that. Often claimed references to Jesus in the Talmud. Well, according to this, no such thing happens. And it was according to Josh, he said that in fact it's the opposite. That it was a spirit that tried to be like Yeshu or Jesus, led people astray, and is now, due to that, boiling in excrement. So I don't know. More confusion. This is why I really liked my conversation with Josh, in that we got to an interesting part. Although I may have been bumbling around, may not be the best interviewer. I'm learning. I'm glad we got to anger. So good, because this is why we do what we do. At least this is what here at Bond is why Jesse does what he does. The anger thing, it trumps it all. It fixes it all. And Josh was saying, well, that's just idealistic. But he agreed with me. I don't know. It didn't sound like he agreed. He called it he made it sound like it was this far off idealistic thing, man. Although I agree, I don't know. But if you agree, then you believe it works. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to stop calling things anti-Semitic and just call out anger. Why wouldn't you want to join up? You know what I mean? Join up with that instead of continue with anti-Semitism, but okay. You don't need to know about Soa Rotashat and boiling and whatever. Anger will let you know that, right? Discerner of things. But what was I going to say about this? Interesting moment about Goyim and about animals. I found it funny because, to recap a little, someone was asking about the word Goyim, which just means like nation, I believe. And it just means, it can be used for the Gentiles and all that. But people believe and say that word means animal. And after some asking and prodding, it ended up being true that there is some connection to the word animal. And that in context, the Jews, I guess, were calling these nations animals because they were like persecuting them or whatever. But I find it funny because, you know, in ancient times, I bet you there were plenty of animalistic people. Come on, there's animalistic people today. And some of you guys so easily call blacks animals. You know what I mean? You guys are so quick to say that. Anyways, I guess I'm Talmud shilling now. Now that I realize, I'm just kind of commenting on some moments. I might be a Talmud shill this episode. But where was I? We never did get to the ADL and all that. You know about the ADL. This hashtag went viral on Twitter about ban the ADL. Okay, the media machine. Elon Musk responded to the whole thing. The Anti-Defamation League, a nonprofit Jewish organization who's fighting hate. The media machine activated. Jonathan Greenblatt, CEO of the ADL, made the media rounds, saying they're just a little nonprofit. Why is big bad Elon Musk, richest man in the world, coming down on us, this little tiny Jewish nonprofit? You know, and I've mentioned, and I think I showed some footage about how they themselves say they have a hand in all the social medias from A to Z, from Apple to Zoom, he says. But they're just a little. They also ran this campaign to pause all advertisers on Twitter when Elon Musk purchased it, due to what they said was an increase in hate and anti-Semitism as he owned it. And if you don't remember the saga at the time, well, there were people who were getting unbanned, okay? Wow, imagine that. Free speech on the social media platform Twitter. A little bit of free speech. They called it anti-Semitic, though. And so that went on for a bit. And what did I want to say about it? Yeah, Jonathan Greenblatt did the rounds. One particular spot was the one that was going viral, where he's responding to legal threats from Elon Musk. He says, he describes it, he describes the whole campaign. Oh, white supremacists started sharing the hashtag ban the ADL. It's funny. White supremacists like Dinesh D'Souza, rabid, raging white supremacist Dinesh D'Souza, one of the ones who joined up with the racist. This guy, look at his face. Just a little. He seems just like a nice guy. Dinesh D'Souza, white. This is the perfect one. Here it is. The raging anti-Semite. He's like a normie guy. I think he's pretty cool sometimes, right? No problem with Dinesh D'Souza here. But that's what he was saying. Saying they're a tiny little nonprofit. Here's an interesting clip that was going around. Particularly about the whole claim that Elon Musk is making about the ADL and their effect on the advertisers on the platform. Okay, let's watch it.
Threats and frivolous lawsuits, they don't scare us. And, like you said, Elon Musk truly is the wealthiest man in the world. He's one of the most brilliant innovators of our time. He controls one of the most powerful media platforms on the planet. We're just a small nonprofit. So blaming the Jews, if you will, that's classic scapegoating. It's not what happened here, but we won't stop, fighting all forms of hate, because that's what we do.
Blaming the Jews, classic scapegoating. So am I to understand that you can't disagree with the ADL here, that's scapegoating? You know what I'm saying? And all this to just to wrap it up, like, honestly, I don't want to harp on this too much. Just kind of wanted to comment on yesterday's thing. I didn't get to say this, was that it's just that the very idea of, and this is my thing about it. Jew this or Christian or whatever, liberal. It's a liberal organization, or it's Jews. My thing is, the whole idea of anti-Semitism is just wrong. It's just not American. It's not very Christian. It's not about good and evil. It's not really getting to the root of things. So giving that any play at all is my thing. Because I'm seeing some people, they're saying, well, the ADL lost their way. They just lost their way. There's a time and place for those things. Like Josh was saying, there's an imminent danger. So, yeah, this you need to fight hate and anti-Semitism. But not only is that not how you fight hate, giving it a word that atomizes people like that, it doesn't get to the root of it. That's how you fight evil and hate. You got to understand and get to the root of it. You're not going to get there by calling it anti-Semitism. You're, in fact, propagating it, promulgating it. I don't know, one of those big fancy words. You're making it worse because you're not uncovering it. You're covering it up. And in this particular case, anti-Semitism is just covering up ego that you call Jewish, which is not real. And we see people do that all the time. Racism, they use different words, right? They use different words, and they're tied up with whatever you see, whatever you think your ego, whatever whatever identity your ego has, okay? And so you use those words. So that's my thing. It's the whole idea of anti-Semitism doesn't fit Christianity, America, and all that. Right and wrong. So, and yeah, Rich L, imminent. I was talking about that with Josh yesterday. I mean, who's seeing that here? I don't see that. I don't see that in any form. Now, the ADL and groups will point to rise in hate. They'll call it a rise in hate. They'll point to statistical increases in hate speech on the platforms. They'll point it and connect it to crimes and people. There was a recent guy in Disney, I guess, or group saying, Nazi this or whatever. And they'll say, look, see, it's an imminent danger. But hate and anger is what's rising. And all people are getting affected. Like just crime in general, right? They'll talk about, you'll hear about black on black crime. It's not nice for them over there either, right? They got that going. This rise in hate is against all people. And all people are seeing that in your personal lives and to all the way to violent crime. Am I wrong here? Am I off base? Where is it that it's particularly Jewish? I personally don't see it. What else about this? Oh yeah, about the whole like ADL thing and all that. People want to point out how it started, and it was the Jews trying to defend this murderer from being defamed, and it's this and that. Doesn't matter how it started. Look how it ended up. Look how it all ended up. What was Robert Conquest's law of politics? That all organizations, I think specifically right-wing organizations, eventually are eventually headed by a cabal of its enemies. Spicy word to use, Robert Conquest. But Robert Conquest, I don't know, he's just a British historian, poet, whatever. But I don't think he's wrong about that. All organizations eventually get headed by a group of its enemies and does the exact opposite of what it set out to do, especially if it's conservative and right-wing. Generally speaking, everybody is reactionary on subjects he knows about. That's his first law. Second law, every organization appears to be headed by secret agents of its opponents. An organization not explicitly right-wing sooner or later becomes left-wing. So yeah. The simplest way to explain the behavior of any bureaucratic organization is to assume that it is controlled by a cabal of its enemies. And there's it's an interesting thing I expanded on a long time ago in an old show. So what are y'all saying in the chat? What's up, Being Enlightened Till I Rise, Ohio Sentinel? Over there on Rumble. Nobody knew what it was until everyone became anti-Semitic. Are you talking about the ADL? Good label, victim subcategory. Yeah. It's a victim subcategory, yeah. Exactly, man. Right on, y'all. I'm gonna read your chats here a little bit. What are y'all saying? What is Semitism? Yeah, well, I don't even know what that is. What is Semitism? Asked Doom Jesus. Isn't a Semite? I don't know what that is. I forget. All right. What shall we do now, y'all? Okay, I think we should move on from all that. Hashtag ban the ADL. We'll see what happens with all that. What's the latest development on that? I believe it's just up to Elon Musk now, threatening that lawsuit, and also threatening to release some data and correspondence with the ADL and Twitter. So remains to see what happens there, right? But speaking of what? Twitter. Nah, I don't want to talk about that. I was going to say the Larry Sinclair stuff and all that. I really don't care about that. I just thought it was weird. Like, what's important about that? Am I missing something here? I'm talking about Tucker Carlson. He had this Larry Sinclair guy on. I was not around during the Obama years, so I never paid attention. Never heard of this guy. Apparently there was some guy who's saying that he had relations with Obama back in the day. He did a lie detector test that he failed, according to what I heard. I don't know what's so... people were saying, Tucker's a Fed. He's a controlled opposition, da-da-da. And I'm like, nah. But then this Larry Sinclair stuff, I'm like, yeah, this guy's a Fed. He focus on messy stuff that... obviously, maybe I'm missing something. I'm open to all things here. I'm open. I really am. Maybe I'm missing something. And maybe you guys could tell me, because some of you were around Obama years. They're definitely clearer in your mind. Definitely not for me. Didn't pay attention to that at all at the time during the Obama years. Sinclair Obama came back for he passed. So he passed one. He did pass a lie detector test. I don't want to put bad info out, but I don't know if this matters, y'all. Like, do we need a lie detector test and Larry Sinclair and all that to figure out that, these Democrats and whatever, they're all for this LGBT stuff, and they're all in, and protected classes, LGBT mafia, and you better say the right thing and think the right thing or you get canceled. Like, do we need to go back to Larry Sinclair to get that one straight? I don't know. It kind of reminds me of the Hunter Biden stuff. Messy details and all that, but wait a second. We're here for the Biden collusion and all that stuff, right, y'all? And look at what he did with this stripper, y'all. Wait, hold on. We're here for Biden and like corruption and the government and all that, right, y'all? Right? Do not get involved in rumors, says 𝒂𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒎. Anyways. That's all that. Boring. Let's see what we can do here. I got more. Let's run it down here. Got some more news here. Some stuff I didn't get to. Tucker, Larry Sinclair. Delete that. J6. DOJ. Coming down with crazy sentences, right? 22 years, Enrique Tarrio. Joe Biggs, 17 years. What is it? 17 years. Nonviolent offenders who were never even in there. Enrique Tarrio, not even in D.C. for his sentencing and all that. And what's it all about? Remember, challenging election. Well, they're saying it's overturning it, seditious conspiracy. It's all kind of nebulous, but it all has to do with going against the government, right? And the government was having an election at the time. And being in the Capitol, doing this or that meant you were going against them, going against the process of an election, etc. So these sentences are coming down. But this whole thing hinges on the whole idea that I guess it's wrong to have your questions. And here's a little bit of what do they call it? Whataboutism. They call it whataboutism if you say, well, what about them? They're doing it too. They call that whataboutism. Well, here's a little whataboutism. Democrat County Supervisor in Mississippi is challenging his party's primary election results after discovering massive schmelection schmaud. Are we still doing that? Are we still covering words for YouTube? We have videotapes of someone going into boxes, bringing in thumb drives, bringing in ballots to be inserted into machines. What incredible claims coming out of Mississippi. What's going on here? We got this guy.
Hinds County Democratic Party have a chairperson by the name of Jackie Amos. We believe and we have evidence that Jackie Amos is tampering with the Hinds County elections. I provided each of you with a copy of the information in her conspiracy and correspondence to someone concerning my election on August the 8th. I cannot read all and everything that she said on this paper because some of it, the words are not fit to use. She corresponded with an individual. That individual called the chairperson, Jackie Amos, or texted chairperson, Jackie Amos, and stated, hey,
what's wrong with y'all?
Don't let them cheat Deborah Dixon out of her election. She won fair and square. Jackie Amos' response to that text was that she won, but I'm going to F David Archie on the site. This matter came from the chairperson of the Hinds County Democratic Party. And so on today, we asking that the Hinds County Democratic Party take immediate action. We asking that she step down from her position as Hinds County chairperson of the Democratic Party, along with Sandra McCall, who is the secretary, who is her running buddy in and around this election.
Isn't that? Is he asking someone to find him the votes?
We have videotape.
Find me the votes.
Of Jackie Amos going into boxes, bringing in thumb drives, bringing in ballots to be inserted into machines. We have pictures of Jackie Amos participating in what we think that is fraud as well as corruption.
You can't say that, man.
And so we want to be absolutely clear that this matter is not only with the Hinds County Democratic Party, but this matter is with every citizen in the state of Mississippi. This is the opportunity to stop corruption and to stop fraud when it comes to elections in the state of Mississippi.
Right on, man. Oh, wait, how long is this video? Holy. Oh, darn.
3 components to verify the vote. The first thing is the paper ballot. I stand before you to say 26 out of 26 precincts contain the paper ballots. 26. Component 1. Component number 2.
Sounding like a right-wing conspiracy here.
Are the machine tapes.
Again, don't, just like with Eric Adams, avoid the temptation to hate them and say I told you so.
The machine tapes is a count of every voter that went and used that machine. I stand before you to tell you 26 out of 26 precincts did not include the tapes.
Whoa. I mean, remember this? They were talking about statistical anomalies in 2020, and I don't know about any of that stuff. But they would say, you would hear statistical anomalies. So certain, what do they call them? Precincts or locales or whatever had voter registrations exceeding 100% and different statistical things. And they would say this and that. And those were conspiracy and not worthy of investigating, I guess, is how that gets deemed. And you know what? If these people that we're watching in this video feel this way, you may disagree, but wouldn't you wait, Nick, I'm doing a you're not banned, Mayna. Can other people see Mayna in the chat? I'm saying here, these people think this way. Wouldn't you want their fears to be assuaged as voters, etc.? Wouldn't you want everything to be on the up and up? Yeah, investigate what you got to investigate. Make sure it's all kosher, all good, all on the up and up, because we're all in the union together. Wouldn't you want that? Because you want that for yourself, right? Anyways, rambling a bit here, but that's what's going on here. Mississippi. I mean, is this what it amounts to? You're just not allowed to have some questions?
Don't worry, there's a third component. There is something called a media stick. It is the brains of the machine. Some of you may call it a thumb drive or something. I stand before you to tell you 26 out of 26 precincts did not include the media sticks in the ballot box.
Sounds bad. I don't know what that means, what she's yelling about. But people are, their lives are being affected by all this talk, all this, what's going on. Still, even today, feds seek prison time for talk show host for ripping, for criticisms of 2020 election. InfoWars host Owen Schroyer. By the way, you don't want to miss Owen Schroyer today. I believe Jesse's on today. Pretty sure Jesse's on today. If I'm wrong, my apologies, but I believe Jesse's actually in the war room with Owen Schroyer today at around 3 p.m. Pacific time. I'll be sure to tweet out about it on the JLP Jesse Lee Peterson Twitter or the YouTube as well, just to be sure. If it is today, I will inform y'all. I can't see Mena. I can see Mena. Mena is gone. Mena, where you at? I'm telling you, I don't see you in the banned list. I'm sorry. So where was I? Owen Schroyer, don't miss it. Could be today. I'm pretty sure it is. I will inform y'all if Jesse does make an appearance, but they're still going after him too. Pleaded guilty in June to a single Class A misdemeanor of entering and remaining in a restricted building or grounds on January 6th. He was initially charged in August 2021, facing 8 months after remaining outside the U.S. Capitol. So he never even went in. After nearly 2 years of fighting charges related to his presence outside the U.S. Capitol, Owen made the decision to plead guilty to a lesser charge. It's crazy. Schroyer allowed the government to review his social media accounts, likely looking for any scrap of incriminating wrongthink they could find. Let me show you what I'm looking at here. Owen Schroyer, you know Owen. You catch Jesse on his show. Owen stood outside the U.S. Capitol. Owen and Alex Jones warned people about going inside the Capitol. That's true. I remember seeing that footage too, warning people to go in. There was people in some of these videos in the crowd, egging people on, telling them to go inside, telling them to break this or that. In fact, I mean, there's just a bunch of them, but here's one of them, I believe. Suspiciously masked man wearing an earpiece caught on video breaking a Capitol window. Never added to the FBI's most wanted. The unidentified man, dressed like an agent, according to this person, encourages a journalist to break the window. I mean, since we're speaking about it, I remembered this. There might be swearing, y'all, so just so you know.
Do not go in there.
So he's trying to go in there. He's interesting.
A radio journalist from Michigan was shooting video that day at the Capitol. What he captured were two, most charitably called suspicious actors, but they are dressed in such a way that led him to believe that they were government agents. And one of them, after the windows had been broken by a protester, it was encouraging people to pull the rest of the glass out and go inside. Bobby Powell, who was the journalist that had shot it, and he has his camera rolling, he told him that would be illegal. And that wouldn't be a good idea. He warned people off not to go into that window. And then he turned his camera around and he caught this agent or suspicious actor pulling a large pane of glass out, this tempered glass. It kind of folds into itself, crunch onto the ground. When he realized he was being filmed, he quickly dropped it. It seems apparent on the video that he did not want to be seen doing what he just did. So he pulled in a protester and started blaming him. He said, "What are you doing breaking that window?" The poor fellow that was being accused didn't know what was going on. And then he gave him a couple of really good shoves and cocked his arm like he was going to punch him. We don't know. His facial image is not on any of the Sedition Hunters sites or the FBI's most wanted site, but he clearly was committing criminal damage to property, and he has not been charged. So it raises a question of why.
Also, the individual trying to, again, opening the window up is even encouraging people to enter, I believe, as well?
Yes.
What's he saying?
Well, he said, "Why don't y'all open the rest of it up?"
You do it.
Why don't you guys open up? Because I think that would probably be illegal. I know. My glasses.
Oh, wow. Because that would be illegal. That would be illegal. 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒂𝒍𝒔 the Great shared that on Twitter. Thank you for that. But Owen Schroyer, I mean, we definitely don't have any problem with Owen. Wishing him well. Hopefully Jesse's on later today. Today, DOJ prosecutors sought 120 days of prison time for Owen. They want him prosecuted for speech crimes. Hold up. Speech crimes. Just in, prosecutors are seeking 120 days in jail for Alex Jones' sidekick, Owen Schroyer, saying his rhetoric prior to and on January 6th bears significant responsibility for the chaos that unfolded. Interesting. Be interesting to see what statements exactly they're pointing towards. Because, like so many before me have pointed out, there's a lot of people who were saying to be calm, to be peaceful, to not enter the Capitol. Alex Jones and people like Owen, Alex Jones for sure, but Owen I think so as well. Part of those warnings out there saying don't do those kinds of things. But they're saying his rhetoric, he's a talk show host as they call him, and he says this and that on the show. It'd be interesting to see what statements he made on the show. They're going to say. They're going to say he said, which bear significant responsibility for the chaos that unfolded. These are like, they're not like radical guys. Owen Schroyer's pretty even-keeled, love all people. You know what I mean? Even keeled, doesn't really go around hating people. But where was I? Oh yeah, they're trying to put him away like that. I mean, I highly doubt he said anything like, "All right, guys, we're gonna take the Capitol and do whatever they're saying he tried to do." I mean, it was a trap, really. It was a trap. Clearly, we could see it was a trap. It was a trap, and people at the the whole event had some kind of mentality about that, clearly, because they're saying, "No, I'm not going to do that or this or that. It's illegal." Going against the temptation, because there were people, it seemed like there were people who seemed to be okay with that temptation, even egging it on, if you will. What a mess. So we'll see how that all comes out, huh? Jailing, can we say that? Jailing the opposition? Can we say that that's kind of what's going on here? That's what they say only happens in communist countries, right? That kind of stuff. Jailing the opposition. 22 years, Enrique Tarrio. I think we could say that. Okay, so no indication. Thank you. Appreciate that this viewer who's in my chat is banned was trying to get that straight. Thank you. Okay. Enrique Tarrio, here it is. 22 years, 18 years. These are, I guess, Proud Boys sentence. I know 2 of those names. Those are some pretty hefty sentences. 22 years, 18 years, 15 years, 17 years, Joe Biggs. I know that one. Dominic Pizzola, 10 years. These aren't just little sentences, okay? Like I said earlier, I learned that the only thing that stopped them from getting a harsher sentence was the fact that they were starting to get into the territory of violent terrorists. Incredible. All right, y'all. What do I want to do now? Geez, I'm a little stumped here. All these links, I didn't really think it through. You know, there's that trans teacher in Canada who's not wearing that stuff anymore. I don't know. Is this an operative? Is this one of us? Do we have one of our own deep undercover? Is that what's going on here? I'm talking about this person, Kale Lemieux. Lemieux. Je suis Lemieux. Je m'appelle Kale Lemieux. You may have heard of this guy. Went super viral for wearing these ridiculous, like, giant breast prosthetics. And this Canadian teacher, okay, who would wear these, just, I guess, giant prosthetics, would claim that it's this person's sexuality or orientation or whatever characteristic and group that they belong to that you cannot discriminate against. You remember this? Z-cup breasts, says Daily Mail. What in the heck is a Z-cup breast? Well, see if Daily Mail feeds us will we get one picture? Will we get even one of this person's previous attire? There it is. This is almost offensive to even show. This is almost way too obscene to even show. But just to remind you of what I'm talking about here, this was a teacher in Canada. He's an anchor baby in Canada. And this teacher, Kayla Lemieux, is apparently over. The saga of this person is over. They now going or walking around like a normal person. without the wig, without the breasts and all that. This Canadian teacher is now working in Hamilton, Ontario, of all places. Shout out to Hamilton, Ontario. I think I even have a few viewers from out there. Hamilton, Ontario was my stomping ground for a couple years there. And it's like a waterfront kind of blue collar city. It's where I met my first hosers, my first real hosers. It's kind of crazy that my whole time growing up in Canada, I didn't really meet like just some like straight up white Canadians. Okay, I had met white Canadians, but they maintained this sort of dual identity. It would be this Italians or whatever. Polish, met a lot of those. But it wasn't until I lived in Hamilton that I met just Canadians. They saw themselves as Canadians. They had the accent. They talked a certain way. You guys know. If you know, you know. It was in Hamilton, Ontario. So this guy is now just in normal clothes. I had my own little conspiracy that this guy's actually one of us, a conservative who just wanted to do something so ridiculous as to try and test the limits of all this woke insanity. How far will people go? And will people stop him from doing something as ridiculous as going to class and teaching class in this ridiculous getup? And will it wake people up, say, okay, this is too far, this is ridiculous? That was my conspiracy theory. We got one on the inside. Very funny, Kevin Howe. So that was my little conspiracy. You know, for a while, I thought Dylan Mulvaney was a insider as well. You know who I'm talking about? Dylan Mulvaney, TikToker person. Day 300, whatever, of being a woman. Went to the White House. You know Dylan Mulvaney. I thought this person was one of us doing something ridiculous like wearing dresses and all that. But to try and wake people up, this is ridiculous. That's clearly not a woman. And so people would wake up to the trans stuff. But then you got the whole facial feminization surgery. And I don't know. That might be a little too far. I don't know if this is an insider anymore. I don't know if this is one of our agents in there anymore. And if it is, our agent may have taken the joke too far here and got facial feminization surgery and everything here. Jeez. I thought it turned out to be a joke, says Doom Jesus. I don't know if it's a joke with Dylan here. If it is, I think it stopped being a joke. Okay, that's enough of this. I don't know why I have this on the screen still. That's enough of all this. What a mess. Disgusting. Stop it, Mena. That's not even funny. Labat Blue, just reading your chats here. Am I banned, Nick? Very funny, Kevin. Nick looking slick, no longer Zelensky. You think so? I'm not Zelensky'd out anymore? Yeah, I guess I gotta have the beard going. But wait, we're not seeing the side-by-side of Zelensky without a beard. Zelensky no beard. Because it could very well be that I still bear a resemblance to this guy. Hold up. We got Zelensky on the screen with no beard. What's the verdict, y'all? What's the verdict? Let me try and do his face. The face of What's the verdict, y'all? Give me a 1 in the chat if I still look like Zelensky. 2 if I don't. And a 3 if it's a so-so. What's the chat saying? Nick Cousin, you need your beard ASAP, Nick. Nick's real father, Zelensky. He might be. That's your daddy, boy. That's that's not my father. My father was a Cuban of the tribe of Taino, meaning I'm an Israelite. Well, actually, today I learned I'm not anymore, actually. Today I got educated from Art that I'm actually not in the tribe. I don't know how to feel about that. I'm getting 3s, 4s. Okay, I don't look like this guy. That's your daddy, boy. Nerds of a feather. Got it from his daddy. I might look like him. Trying to do his face here. All right. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving here. You need the crying look to match him better. Yep. We might have to try that some other time. Okay, y'all. What else do I got here for you guys? Not much. Silly stuff, but I don't really want to get into silly stuff. We did the news, commented on stuff yesterday. Akon is saying every single African should move to Senegal and invest into his city, and they will be millionaires, and the U.S. will collapse overnight. You hear about that? I don't know about that, Akon. I don't know. U.S. collapse overnight. There might be a little bit of pain, if all women stopped working tomorrow, there might be some pain. I don't know about collapse, but it'll be for the better, I think. Don't you guys agree? But that's it. I mean, I have silly stuff. I don't really want to get to. That's. We did the news. We did the stuff. Don't really need to get to silly stuff. I will get to Art, Ohio here, because there's no need to do all this. Akon is just wrong, right, y'all? I got Art, Ohio on the air, sir. You're on the air.
Me, but why would you do that? Why, bro? Why? Why would you do that with me, man? You starting already.
Come on, man. I want to be a Taino.
Man, you cool. You can still be down with the crew. You can still be down with the crew, man. You can still be down. Look, as long as you following the commandments. See, this is the thing what they don't understand. It's a lot of them Israelites that ain't gonna receive the blessing and go into heaven either.
Whoa.
You know why they ain't going into the heaven?
That sounds interesting. Why do you say that?
They can be from gang Judah all they want to, but if they ain't following the commandments of gang Judah, Father God, then they ain't gonna go to heaven. You see what I'm saying?
I'm following.
So it's gonna be a lot of people that ain't of that tribe of Judah, this white, black, and any of these other ethnicities following them commandments, just like the tribe of Judah, any other 12 tribes of Israelites is supposed to be following the commandment. That these other tribes that ain't really of that tribe of Judah or whatnot in the 12 tribes, as long as they follow on the commandments, they're going to receive the blessing of Father God. Now, whatever that blessing will be, however he's going to lay that out for you to go to heaven, and that's up to him. I don't run that house. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's not just, I guess, being part of the club, huh? There's God requires something too.
Yeah. You require to do stuff like you.
I heard something recently. Where did I hear this? I heard something. Who was it that said this? Something about Jews and their relationship with God, and how something about being chosen, but despite being chosen, they still need to be born again.
Yeah.
What was that?
And it sounds like being born again. If I ain't mistaken,
Was it hate? No. I cut you off. You were saying?
Being born again is following them commandments.
Right, and that's how you. I understand what you're saying there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like you still require. There's still God. I guess requires a change, or you need to be saved by God, or whatever. Yeah. The point is, it's not just the club.
Yeah, for sure. But now, what I was saying with Haker whatnot is that I was thinking about that because I'm like, why? Because if you notice that IUIC, they this ain't no disrespect to them or whatnot. I ain't trying to badmouth them or none of that. It's just I was just wondering. I'm like, why they kick a lot of people off of YouTube, and they seem to kick them off of YouTube or took their channels down. And then
So
I got
true.
to thinking of it, and I'm like, that's probably because they pushing a message that goes along with the being deceitful. You see what I'm saying? Basically, they telling a lot of these people that they of a tribe that they ain't, but the YouTube and the mainstream media that they will want them to do that because it's causing confusion.
Yeah.
They're telling people that they're a part of something that they ain't, so that ain't doing nothing but pushing the narrative that's causing confusion and making people believe stuff that ain't true. You see what I'm saying?
Well,
And-
I think it
and a
just
lot of-
fits. It just
Go ahead.
it just seems to fit agendas and narratives. They're attacking or whatever the people in power in their mind, and so they'll allow it to happen.
Yeah, and just think about this. What did they do with Kanye West and to Kyrie Irving? They booted them right off any of these platforms and was belittling them, bashing them, and all of that. Why ain't they doing that with the IUIC when they be speaking about the Jewish and talking bad about the whites? Why ain't they never allegedly kicked them off of YouTube or whatnot? And it's somebody is in bed with somebody, and I mean this is allegedly, but it's only common sense. You know, I go to say that. No, I don't know if it was the Aztecs or the Incas or whatever that was down there by Panama. It was some Spanish conquerors that went over there or whatnot. And these are all these little islands where they was going to these islands or whatnot. The Spanish and the Europeans or whatnot, they was going to the islands when they would bring the Negro slaves, because the Negro slaves would help them build up the little conquerors area or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And then the conquerors would go off and try to subvert the Spanish people of that land or whatnot, the Incas and the Aztec of that land. Well, a lot of them wasn't converting over to the Spanish into the what they call them, the conquerors, or what they call them over here in America.
Wait.
I think it was called the conquistadors, but they call them over here in America
colonizers.
The white people that came over here and stole the land. What they call them?
The colonizers.
The colonizers. Okay, well, the colonizers of that land down there, they were trying to turn over the Aboriginal people of the land, and they wasn't basically going for it, so they ran them off. They ran the conquerors off or whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
and when they ran them off, they left the slaves, which I'm thinking, or I ain't saying I'm thinking, I seen the documentary on YouTube, which they were saying that it was Negro slaves, and a lot of them Negro slaves, they killed the people of that land, which is more than likely your ancestors or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
They killed a lot of them slaves when them conquerors fled off the land or whatnot. And that goes for even Trinidad. I think with the
because
the sugar cane stuff, when they brought the Negroes over there to Trinidad because they were trading sugar cane and stuff like that, Trinidad, they basically got their freedom from basically the conquerors because they fought the most hardest war and ran them off of that land or whatnot. And I'm speculating that more than likely they killed the slaves that they brought over there too.
Gotcha. And the significance being that and the only connection that these people like those Hispanics down there, now Mexico and all that, would have to the tribes would be the black people that were brought over as slaves. That would be their connection to the tribes. But you're saying they were killed out to such a degree that you can't really, there's really no significance in that, and any connections to the tribes amongst the Latinos and all that, right? And this just I'm tongue in cheek in this conversation, referring to I think a while ago now. The audience probably doesn't remember when someone else called me, John from Kentucky, and I don't know if he called me or if it was on the Hake Report, tried to inform me that due to my possible Cuban heritage, my father being possibly Cuban, that gave me Taino blood. The Taino were indigenous people of the Caribbean, and that meant that I was part of the tribe apparently, but I don't think that's quite true. I'm with you, Art. I think these savages killed them off or something. I really don't know. I'm just playing.
Well, Well, I don't know if you're familiar with this or whatnot. You notice that they be finding a lot of them bones up under them, like in the temples. They got like a lot of them bone structures or whatnot, where there's a whole bunch of skulls and stuff, and they stacked on top of each other. They saying that those are the slaves that they killed or whatnot.
Oh wow!
And I got the documentary on my phone or whatnot. I'm thinking about uploading it, but it's from somebody else's thing or whatnot. But I'm not saying that they kill all the. Of course, there's going to be a few of them.
Yeah, definitely not. Because apparently, my dad was black.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a joke. That's what I don't know how black. I don't know how dark, but that's the story. That's the story of this mystery man.
Yeah,
it might very well be true. I really am the blackest one here. I know I don't look it.
Yeah, but no, I mean, and my thing is this. Only reason why, a lot of Negroes is probably just coming to this understanding is because over them years we wasn't able and allowed to read. In the comprehension, it says, and I think it says somewhere along the Bible that you ain't gonna understand until God opens your eyes up to understand. Something like that. It says in the Bible. I ain't exactly word for word or whatnot. So a lot of people over here, especially Negroes, is just basically coming into this understanding or whatnot. But it's some Negroes that were slaves that didn't get killed over there. It's
Gotcha.
only a handful or whatnot. But if you know, over time, my hair ain't changed. My skin color ain't got no lighter and darker besides only in the summertime and the wintertime because of the cold and in the heat. But my hair it's gonna still be nasty or whatnot. I got when I pick my hair, it sounds like Captain Crunch and Rice Krispie treats or whatnot, and with milk on them, snap, crackle, and pop. What I'm saying is that black blood and Negro blood is strong to where the genes don't never lose your genes, especially if a female, whatever race she is, has a kid by a Negro male. That's what makes, if a white female has a kid by Artie Art, that will make that kid the tribe of Judah. And those genes ain't gonna never fade out to where you ain't gonna see no parts of that Artie Art's nappy hair in that kid unless my daughter or my son unless my daughter, it can't be my son because my son has the seed. Unless my daughter goes and has a kid with a white dude, then that will erase the bloodline. You see what I'm saying? Because the child, you are of your father. But yeah, that's pretty much all.
Yeah, fascinating.
Well,
no, hey, well, good. I'm glad. As long as I'm cool with the tribes, I don't need to be part of it.
Yeah. Oh no, shoot, forget that. I mean, and my thing is this: I be watching a little bit of IUIC, but a lot of stuff and some of the stuff that I said back on Jesse Lee's show and Hake's show, a lot of stuff I don't agree with, and some stuff is just only common sense. If you know history, then you would know some of this stuff. You don't need them to tell you that, but a lot of stuff they be saying they be right on or whatnot. But everybody ain't part of the tribe, and they be trying to be friendly and make everybody be part of the tribe. And I think they trying to basically cause an insurrection over here in America by bringing all these foreigners over here, claiming that they tribes are one of the 12 tribes and trying to flip America to turn against the white people. And I don't think that it's going to end up happening. It's going to end up flipping on them. The IUIC and these so-called Negroes, what's happening right now in Chicago and New York, where they taking the American people, not the blacks, not the whites, the American people. It ain't no color thing. It's about America.
Yeah, because these groups they want to marry as part of the tribe, they don't like each other.
Exactly.
So it's not. I don't know if it'll work out like that. It's like the word POC and all that. It's a way of bringing hateful people together against the whites.
Exactly. And then just like,
and I don't usually know about all this stuff, but thank you for the information. I don't usually know about this stuff. I've never really seen you as an IUIC type person, although you might believe this or that. I've always seen you as like an individual, Art. So appreciate that. You were gonna say.
Think about this. That when Mexicans and all these other nationalities, they like to stick to their group. You see what I'm saying? They had when the East Indians come over here, the ones with the dots in the middle of their head, they want their daughters to have kids with their type of people. You see, the Mexicans do too.
That's
Cubans
true.
do too. And my thing, if they were so a part of the tribe, why is it not in their DNA and their blood to naturally be susceptible?
I kind of remember you saying this. Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying now.
Today.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be nothing for them to come over here and have some
right, because it's all the same. I gotcha.
Art.
Oh, I understand
But
what you're saying
they're
about that
not,
now. No, in fact, we see that they don't like each other quite heavily.
Exactly. And I don't have my thing is this, I want the lions to be where the lions is, and I want the cheetahs to be where the cheetahs is, because when I go to them places, I want to see cheetahs. I don't want to see a cheetah mixed with a horse.
Mm-hmm. Ain't nothing wrong with being with your own.
Yeah, ain't nothing
Muhammad
wrong
Ali.
with it. I mean, I'm not knocking y'all. I like Mexicans for what they look like and how they are and who they are. Just like I like Hank with his little red hair. You know how he looked, and I like Elvis Presley doing his little leg snap, and a hug this and a hug that. I like everybody for their individual persons or whatnot.
So
yeah,
true
ahead.
diversity.
I'll catch you later. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Art. For sure, man. Call me again.
You already know. Tell him we still rolling with Trump.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Art. Call me again, man. Brian, North Carolina. Let's rock these calls. Something interesting, actually. I'll have a real show for y'all tomorrow, I swear. Brian, North Carolina, man. Thank you for your call.
Thank you, Nick. How you doing?
All is well, man. Having a chill Thursday right now. Maybe a little too chill.
Art is funny, man. He said his hair sounded like Rice Krispie treats.
That's what he said.
That's pretty funny. I'm gonna have to use that one. I'm putting that in the back pocket, Art. Appreciate it.
That's a tribe litmus test.
Right. But I called because you had a great show with your Jewish guest. I think his name was Josh. Joshua?
Yeah, Josh Cedars of Lebanon on YouTube.
Right. Matt, by the way, his song that you played at the end, that sounded like a great song.
Yeah. Catchy for sure.
Yeah. But something I noticed, man, well, first of all, it was great watching him and Art, kind of go back and forth, and it was something I noticed that you were kind of helping to point out was the fact that a lot of the Jewish community, probably most of them, if not all, have that resentment still in them about what happened in the past.
Yep.
And they kind of hold on to it, and they use it as a defense mechanism because there's like you said, this quote unquote imminent danger, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, he was really spot on about a lot of things that he was saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
honest.
it just kind of made me think how Jewish people might be the ultimate Bible thumpers.
Yeah. Okay, expand what you mean. I don't want to assume, but expand what you mean.
Well, Bible thumpers, they know a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like they know, and they can recognize a lot of things, but it falls on empty. It's empty because they have that anger and they have that resentment, and so it's just like a bunch of knowledge, but it's only used to beat people over the head with. It's not used to lead people with, or to point people in a direction within, really. And the crazy thing is that he was really spot on about a lot of things, and I think it's amazing how he also kind of had this motherliness about him when he was kind of avoiding the confrontation with Art.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because what Art was just talking about was about the transfer of life and everything in it happening through the Father, through him, right? And it's amazing because apparently in order to be a Jew, it has to have everything to do with your mother.
Yes. That's how it comes
down. And maybe there's some connection there. Maybe there's a connection there. Maybe.
I think so, man.
The Jewish people have a lot of forgiving to do with their mothers.
I think so. And I think we've seen that demonstrated. It's so interesting because two things here. I had heard about this whole well, their mentality about the Holocaust and motivates thinking and behavior. But I'm here talking to Josh, someone who I'd never met before, who he himself says, he didn't really think of himself as religious. He's just really kind of a atheist kind of guy who just found himself learning about Jewish scripture. So he didn't identify that deeply with that word, kind of Jewish. You kind of remember that part of the conversation?
I do.
And yet he sees as an imminent danger. I was honestly surprised he was using that kind of those words, imminent danger.
I was too, man.
I was honestly surprised. I was like, I thought this was a racist canard, anti-Semitic canard or whatever. But here is someone who's not involved with that kind of stuff. He even the term ADL was foreign to him. He was like, oh yeah, I kind of heard about that stuff. So he's not in it like we're in it. Yeah, me too.
Right, but I don't know. He hasn't heard about the ADL. I mean,
is what he said.
Maybe
right?
not, but I don't know.
And so I found it interesting that he even used that language. And I think the word anti-Semitism, that whole concept, really exemplifies what you're saying here, this whole knowledge over wisdom thing. And that is kind of like the ultimate, that's the pinnacle of it. And that whole concept, anti-Semitism, because you have all this knowledge of the past and history and all this trauma. With all that knowledge, you then come up. What is the pinnacle of it all? Anti-Semitism, when but it has no understanding or wisdom. It's not because it's not particular. It's actually afflicts all people. And what is it that afflicts them all? The spirit, anger, etc.
A mess, man. It's deep, but it's right there, plain to see.
Yeah.
And shout out to Alex Jones, Tate's competitor, because he pointed it out. He said that the Jewish people or the ADL is worse than the Nazis.
Yeah, interesting. I agree. I mean,
I don't know if they're worse than them, but they're no better than them. That's
right. And when you say Nazi, I'm imagining this is our kind of colloquial understanding of that, right? Nazi bad and that kind of stuff.
100%. Because who am I to say what they did or what they didn't do?
Yeah. And I agree with that, though. With that understanding, yeah, they're the Nazis.
Yep.
Fascinating stuff, Brian. Man, I forgot what I was going to ask you. Any more comments on the interview, I guess?
I really liked, I don't know if you guys did it intentionally, but I liked how you guys did the whole good cop, bad cop setup. Hassan came in with the smiles and laughter.
Really? Is that how it felt? I was not trying to do anything like that. Not at all. In fact, I thought Hassan was the tougher one.
No, I'm joking. It just did. It was. I mean, it flowed. It just flowed. I mean,
I'm grateful. I'm going to try not to bogart Hassan's stuff from now on. I'll get my own guests. But yeah.
I mean, if he's there, he's there. You know.
Yeah, it definitely worked out. I'd say somewhat naturally. I did mention it, but Josh seemed raring to go as soon as Hassan was up, and I mentioned that the calls were just starting up. He was like raring to go. He's like, man, I wish we could take him. So I'm just like, hey, you could. Yeah. We definitely could.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, right on, man.
Okay, Brian, call me again. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, y'all. That's the show. I hope you guys enjoyed it somewhat. Got a rambling a bit there. Got through some news, got through some calls and super chats. I definitely got a real show. I got an actual show for you tomorrow. We're going to take a flight. We do love those. 4 p.m. around there, our projected takeoff time. We'll be flying Anchor Baby Airlines. Watch it Nick stream. You don't want to miss it tomorrow around that time, 4 p.m. Pacific time. Fallen State at 12. Hake Report at 9 a.m. Jesse Lee Peterson. Open Line Friday tomorrow at 6. We got ourselves a nice busy day tomorrow. Like I said, I'll have an actual show for you tomorrow, okay? So thank you for sitting through today's show. Hope you enjoyed it. Podcast yesterday's interview and all that. If you missed that, and we got more next stream tomorrow, right, y'all? Again, appreciate it. Let me sign off For real. Let me just set that up. Hey, take care, y'all. See you tomorrow.